What's going on, Birdland? Stephen Heckman here for the Final Strike broadcast, brought to you by the Baltimore Battery. Hope everybody has enjoyed the last couple weeks. Unfortunately, I have been away, had some personal things to take care of, but we're back at it, and I hope y'all missed me as much as I missed you. Good news is the Orioles actually had their first winning month of the season, going 16-11 in June. They actually were second in the league in OPS with runners in scoring position with a .908, and they also tied for the lead, hitting 13 home runs with runners in scoring position. They tied with the Arizona Diamondbacks. This is the offense we've been waiting for. This is what we've been waiting to see our team accomplish and be able to do. And June was a great time to see it. I mean, Ramon Laureano coming out of nowhere and becoming the player he's become is just phenomenal. Ramon Urias being that consistent player. Ryan O'Hearn, who's having an all-star season. Jackson Holliday, a little bit of a down month, but still overall having a good season. Gunnar Henderson starting to hit the ball with authority. I actually, in the recent article release of the Orioles month in review for June, he was actually one of my players for June who stood out. Him and Gary Sanchez. So good things are happening there. On the adverse side of things, Adley Rutschman is on the IL. Last I heard, he had not started taking batting practice, but he had started throwing the ball. So there's a little bit of improvement, not much. Zach Eflin just hit the IL, unfortunately. So that gives us another pitcher on the IL. As of right now, Sagano and Kramer are basically the only two pitchers. Well, I guess you have to throw Charlie Morton in there, but they're the only two pitchers that were expected to be in the rotation that are still plugging along. So, I don't know. The injury bug is out after us hardcore this year. Jorge Mateo had to get pulled from his rehab assignment the other day, now with a hamstring injury. So, not only did he have the wrist injury, now he's battling a hamstring injury. So, you're probably going to lose him for another 10 to 14 days. Trump got hurt. Maverick Hanley's hurt. Adley Rutschman's hurt. We had to sign Jacob Stallings, doing everything in our power to avoid bringing up Samuel Basello. Which the kid's doing very, very well down at AAA. I get the concept here, and I know a lot of people are hammering that we're manipulating service time, but in reality, he's played less than 20 games this season at the catcher position in AAA. So you really need to get him up to speed, and his defense is not his actual strong foot. He has a very strong arm, but his blocking and his pitch framing are not up to par. And at 20 years of age, I'd rather have the kid develop the right way than force him into a situation that could cause him to actually hurt his confidence. As we saw last year, Jackson Holliday, once it started going bad, it snowballed and got worse. And now, in the offseason, he took a different determination route, adjusted a few things, and came back with authority this year. But it's very hard when you bring up a 20-year-old kid to throw him into a situation, especially one we're trying to have a historic turnaround to make the postseason, and have that added pressure on him. He's already the top prospect in our system. He's the number 15th overall prospect in MLB rankings. So with Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holliday, Adley Rutschman, all living up to expectations. Well, Adley right now, his offense is down. But for the most part, being crucial and integral to the last couple years of success, you got to be careful how you put him in position. Plus, we still have not extended Adley Rutschman. So then you start getting into, do we keep Adley Rutschman? Do we keep Samuel Basello? Do we keep them both? And you might cause friction and put a big albatross on the team that could actually spread out and cause a bigger problem. Have we extended Adley? There might be a different scenario, but having Adley Rutschman and Samuel Basello, you do need two good ground catchers. Split the catching duties, split the DH duties, and Basello also learning first base, which opens up the door because Ryan O'Hearn is a free agent next year, or at the end of this year, and Ryan Mountcastle is a free agent next year. You have Kobe Mayo over there playing, but if Samuel Basello is producing better offensively, do we really want to sacrifice him for Kobe Mayo? So there's a lot that goes into play here and a lot of factors that are standing out that have to determine this decision. Sammy Basello is a good hitter, strong hitter with strong contact, got a very powerful arm, but there's a few things he needs to fix. And before we rush in and say, bring him up, bring him up, bring him up, I think let's get him ready to come up instead of forcing him up. Now, of course, if the situation keeps going and we keep losing catchers, it's a whole different ballgame. But as of right now, if we can do what we can to avoid having to bring him up, that's what we need to do. So there's a lot of thought process and a lot of branches that can spread out from here if this isn't done the right way. And we really need to go about it the right way. It's very important that we actually consider his growth. I know it seems like we've had Samuel Basello for a long time. It's because we signed him so young out of Dominican, and he's excelled so quickly. So we have to watch that. I mean, there's other players you can speak the same for. You got Dylan Beavers, who's, the kid's having an excellent season in AAA. And, with the struggles of Heston Kjerstad, and if we actually keep Heston Kjerstad, you've got Dylan Beavers to consider. So do you keep him? Do you trade him? Do you give him his shot up at the top league or not? Kjerstad's still on the 40-man roster. So, we don't have to DFA him, but, decisions are going to have to be made eventually. We're going to approach the trade deadline as we're still contenders, which, we're less than 10 games out from the wild card. So a lot of baseball left to play to make that up. I don't think we're going to get back in the AL East division running, but there's still plenty of baseball left and a lot can happen. That's the one thing they play the amount of games they do. So we've seen crazy stuff. I've seen, Atlanta and Boston in the same season both overtake division leaders with less than 2 weeks of baseball left to play. I've seen teams that knocked out of the playoffs on the last day of the season who won 95 games. So baseball is a fickle sport and a lot can happen in a short period of time. All it takes is one strong winning streak, which we've already had one that got us, we were 18 games under 500 at one point. We're flirting with being 10 games under 500. And those things definitely come into play. So, we're not totally out of it. So we're on the cusp and we have to approach the deadline the same way. We have to improve, but do we get rentals or do we get players who are going to benefit us next year as well? And I think that's how we have to approach it. Are we getting a return where we have a player longer than just a half a season? The big free agent signing of Tyler O'Neill right now, it looks like a bust. We can't even get him on the field. And last time he was on the field, he couldn't play that well. So a lot to think about, a lot going on here, and a lot on Mike Elias's plate. What's he going to do? What's the next big move he's going to make? Do we extend Zach Eflin? Do we trade Zach Eflin? Tomiyoko Sagano, do we trade him? Do we keep him? That's the other thing. If we keep these players that they leave at the end of the season, at least we get the ability to offer them a contract that if they reject, we can get compensated with draft picks. So there's thought processes there that have to come into play. And, a lot of people aren't going to agree with it. And I understand that. So I was talking to the gentleman from the O's Across the Pond podcast. We touched base on how we were going to approach the trade deadline and who do we see possibly trading or keeping. It's definitely check out their podcast because they've had some great guests on there. Kind of a little jealous. I need to get some guests on here. But I digress. It's an interesting aspect because, it's hard after watching the way the first part of the season unfolded and then watching how June went, because June shows the potential our team has. And what really bothers me is we were starting to get healthy and then boom, the injury bug hits again. Jordan Westburg right now, day to day, he's struggling because of this, and he's a big part of our offense. Calzer's hitting the ball again, which is great. Gunner's hitting the ball. And like I mentioned earlier, the two Ramones, Laureano and Urias, they have been a godsend for our team. They really have. They've stepped up big time for our team. And Gary Sanchez, since he's come back off the IL, oh, that guy's been on fire. And which is great. I mean, we've needed that veteran leadership and presence. And I, for one, was never a big fan of Gary Sanchez. His defense is atrocious, but he does have a good bat. I will give him that. But he's actually stepped up big time for us. And, that veteran presence and leadership is crucial, especially when you have a young team developing. When they see a guy who comes to work every day and will do whatever's asked every day and give his best every day, that's going to trickle down to other players on the team. That's what I loved about Adam Jones, is you had to follow Adam Jones' lead. He was an infectious player because he gave everything he had every time he came to play ball. Defensively, offensively, he did not take that play off. And I think that's been the biggest part that's missing from our team, is we haven't had that mentality. Like, see, Jordan Westberg is that gritty, down, go get it, get the job done player. And he's so laid back off the baseball field. He changes the seriousness tone in the clubhouse. Him and Colton Cowser together are clowns. And then you get Gunnar Henderson and Jackson Holliday and Adley Rutschman together and Grayson Rodriguez, and they're all doing well. They all get along well. They're all really good friends. And I think it's important that they have that bond, but you've got to have that one player that stands out as the leader, that shows this is why you have to follow this guy. This is the reason we want to do this. And that brotherhood and camaraderie, I think, is going to help when it comes time for us to re-sign some players, because I think these players saw what they were capable to do down in the minors. If we could win a World Series with them together, that's going to be big for them. That's going to be something that every baseball player growing up dreams of, winning a World Series. But if you can do it with guys that you actually went through the minor league system with together, that means a lot more, because you get to share something and you watch each other grow, and you were there for each other through the hard times and the good times. And that, I think, is important. I think that camaraderie is very important to the team. But I also think having a player like Gary Sanchez, who's go out there gritty, do all he can to make sure he's helping the team and do his job to the best of his ability. So, take what you want from that, but I think that's very, very good, very positive. Touch base real quick on the injuries and everything. Kyle Bradish should be heading down to Sarasota this week. Should be starting to face live batters very soon. Very, very soon. Tyler Wells is roughly about a week behind, so he's going to throw another bullpen session before he heads down to Sarasota. Grayson Rodriguez, he actually threw a bullpen session the other day that was a mix of other than fastballs. So, there's positivity there. Tyler, let's see what we got. Keegan Aiken now is left shoulder inflammation. He's out. Chadwick Trump, lower back tightness. He's out. These are players that are currently on the team. An injury bug just will not leave us alone. Jorge Mateo now has a left hamstring injury, which we said earlier. Zach Eflin, low and back strain. Charlie Morton, right elbow tendonitis. Now, he's going to pitch Friday. They did push him back till Friday, so I think that kind of had a little bit to do with us facing the Braves, too, to tell you the truth. Tyler O'Neill, we have no idea when he's coming back. Guy got hurt doing a rehab assignment, so him and Ramon. Cade Bovich, he made a rehab start for AAA Norfolk on the 26th, threw 75 pitches. He's been paused. His rehab has been paused due to ongoing soreness in his hip, though. We can't catch a break. Adley Rutschman, he's not yet swinging a bat. He should return early in the second half. We already said he was out through the All-Star break. Jordan Westberg, he should be back June 30th or July 1st. So we were aggravated the sprain on the 27th. Maverick Hanley, he's on concussion protocol. We'll be very cautious with that because concussions are an important thing to take time and let heal. You can actually start showing improvement and then regress. As somebody who's had 19 concussions in my time frame, I can tell you, you've got to be cautious and very careful with concussions because certain things can trigger effects that weren't there before. And I'd rather us be precautious than risk causing an injury or something more to a player. Albert Suarez, he began playing catch, which is great. He got another MRI on June 23rd, which shows that he's 80% healed. He had a right subscapular strain. I couldn't even tell you where that is. Doesn't sound comfortable, though. He hopes to throw off a mound by mid-July, so we get him back for the second half of August, maybe. Kyle Bradish, like I said, he goes on the 29th. He went to Sarasota to begin facing live hitters. That's great. If we can get him back closer towards the end of July rather than August, I think that'd be a big thing for us. Grayson Rodriguez threw a bullpen session featuring fastballs and breaking balls on the 27th. So that's a plus. Hopefully he's healed and ready because we definitely would like him back for the second half push. Ryan Mountcastle, I don't know, grade 2 strain, likely to miss 8 to 12 weeks. If he doesn't come back this season, I would not be surprised. Tell you the truth. Tyler Wells threw off a mound on the 27th of April, completed another bullpen session on the 27th. Should be facing live hitters in early July. Like I said, he's probably about a week behind Kyle Bradish. So we should be getting a lot of improvement from both those players relatively soon. We did call up Yennier Cano from AAA, which I really think is important. I think we've been missing him. I know he was having some struggles there, but that part in the back end of the bullpen, we were missing him very much so. We also selected the contract of Corbin Martin, designated Matt Bowman for assignment, and infield outfielder Jose Barrero agreed to terms on a minor league deal. I already told you about Keegan Aiken going on the IL. Trump on the IL. We called Jacob Stallings up, which is no surprise. Like I said, I know a lot of people are clamoring for Basello, but honestly, I think getting him comfortable in the growth section is what's important. Dylan Carlson recalled from AAA. That's an interesting one. Manuel Rivera designated for assignment. Kyle Tyler elected free agency in lieu of accepting his assignment to AAA. And Tyler O'Neill on the 1st transferred his rehab assignment to AAA Norfolk. So there's a lot of positive there, but there's also negative. I mean, can't keep losing catchers. This is atrocious. I mean, we've literally, right now on the IL, you have Grayson Rodriguez, Albert Suarez, Zach Eflin. Then you add in Tyler Wells, Kyle Bradish. Now you have Keegan Aiken, Colby Selby. Let's see, who else do we have? What other pitchers do we have? Cody Poteet. I mean, where does it end? You have 2 catchers on the 3 catchers on the IL. Okay, Povich. So, I mean, it's hard not to laugh because I honestly don't remember seeing a team this decimated with injuries so much in 1 year. I mean, like, we saw what the Braves went through when they lost Ronald Acuna and Spencer Strider, and their third baseman, Riley. I can't think of his first name. Do it. We saw what they went through. They lost big-time players. We're losing big-time players and then losing more big-time players all at the same time. And, my buddy Ivan and me were talking the other day, and, he brought – and actually Logan did as well, brought up the same point. We might need to look into getting a new training staff. Yeah, it's consideration. I mean, most of our pitchers had a lot lat injuries this year. A lot of lat injuries? I mean, come on, seriously? Something's not being stretched properly. Now we're getting hamstring injuries. Poor Jordan Westberg just can't get his finger straight because he keeps sliding in the wrong thing or getting the ball off the end of the bat. Of course, like you said, our catching carousel. Adley, Rutschman, Maverick Hanley, Trump. Mountcastle's on the IL. Tyler O'Neill's on the IL. Colton Cowser missed 60 days already. I mean, seriously, we have not been able to field our actual team yet this year. How much more can we take? And I know it's frustrating as a fan in Baltimore because we expected so many big things this year, but when you look at the overall picture of the games lost due to injury this year, it's asinine. It's insane. And there's no way, I don't care who you are, that you can get through with this many injuries and expect to make the postseason. If we make the postseason, I swear it'll blow my mind. It will literally blow my mind. I want us to make the postseason. Don't get me wrong. But my expectations went from here probably to about here since we've, had the injury virus. That's pretty much all I can say. We've had an injury virus. So we're going to see what happens. Hopefully July is a continuation of June. It would be great. Hopefully we can gain some ground, pick things up, and, head into the All-Star break and come out of the All-Star break in relatively good health. That would be the ideal thing. If we could get players back and start getting our team back, to the strength that it was before. I think that's going to be a crucial part of the growth of our team this year. And I think it's going to be big going into next year. Not counting out this year, but I'm also not as high in hopes of postseason appearance as I was before. And that's nothing against, the team, except their performance during the beginning of the year was completely out of whack. And for whatever reason that was, whether it was Hyde not doing things properly, whether it was lack of leadership, maybe it was just frustration because everybody was getting hurt. Important pieces of our team were hurt and not there. I don't know. But June shows what this team is capable of doing. We have the depth in the minor leagues, thank God, because how many people would have 5 catchers go on the IL this season and still be able to keep playing? We have 3 of them on there now. So, you've got to take the good with the bad. And realistic expectations right now is it's a very long shot for us to make the playoffs. It would be a historic turnaround if we did, but I'm not holding my breath. So we're going to wrap up here. Thank you all for joining and listening. Please make sure, if you're on YouTube, subscribe. I need you all to subscribe because I'd like to be able to do some live posts. If you're watching this on YouTube or if you're getting this and you haven't been to YouTube yet, at SRJ Heckman, make sure you subscribe. It's free to subscribe. I want to start doing some giveaways. I want to start having more guests. I want to do some live programming where you all can actually come in and ask questions and me answer them while we're on the air. I think that would be excellent. I want to get you all more involved. Don't forget to follow The Final Strike on X, formerly of Twitter, at @TheFinalStrike_. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram, TikTok, X, formerly of Twitter, YouTube, all at SRJ Heckman. And if you haven't yet, download the 3-5 app. It's the number 3, the word 5. Download that. You can find me on there as well at SRJ Heckman. So we're expanding. We're getting out there in different areas because we want to reach as many Baltimore fans as we can. We want to make sure we're giving you the information that you need, not only from the Final Strike, but from the Baltimore Battery. If you haven't yet checked out the BaltimoreBattery.com, without them, I would not be here. There's been some great articles coming out. We have our June review of the Orioles. We have our prospect piece of the Orioles. There's an article I wrote also about what is the reason Samuel Basello is not in the majors yet or what's holding him back. I think it's a pretty good read. I know I'm a little biased because I wrote it, but don't forget to check out the BaltimoreBattery.com. Make sure you leave us comments and thoughts on what you think of the pieces and what you'd like to see. Same here. Don't forget to leave a comment. Let us know that you've watched this. Like, follow, and share. Let's get more people involved because I want to be able to get you all involved in the show a little bit more. Until next time, Birdland, please have a safe and wonderful 4th of July. I want to give a big shout out to my sponsor, Scooters for Rent, which is actually transitioning its name to Advanced Mobility Solution. Still going to offer the same great service
Same great products. If you're in the Eastern Shore area and you're looking for mobility products, give them a call, 302-280-6203. If you're in the need for scooters, wheelchairs, beach, manual, or electric, and lift recliners, tell them Stephen from The Final Strike sent you. Check out The Final Strike anywhere you can find your podcast and on YouTube. And also don't forget to check out the Baltimore Battery, X, and Twitter, and Blue Sky at the Be More Battery. And until next time, Birdland, have a safe and wonderful 4th of July. Keep that beer cold. Peace out.